Hey everybody, this is question number 9 from the 10 most missed items on the chapter 7 through 9 exam. Anyway, so I'll just get to this one. This is a 2015 survey shows that 47% of Snapchat users are between 18 and 24 years old. Suppose a follow-up survey was recently conducted to investigate if the proportion had changed, and that out of a random sample of 215 Snapchat users, it found 120 were between the ages of 18 and 24 years old, using an alpha of 0.05, complete parts A through C. All right, so let's again, as always, start with what we know. So we know that the claimed proportion is 47% or 0.47. We know that, let's see, don't let the 18 to 24 confuse you. That's a label, right? Not data. We know that we had a sample, so an N of 215. We know there was an X, or sample successes, of 120. That will let us calculate our sample proportion, which was just our X divided by our N. That's quite a bit bigger. We have an alpha of 0.05. I think that's everything we know. Okay, so that's a good place to start anyway. So first thing it wants us to do is state our null and alternative hypotheses. So our null hypothesis is that the proportion will equal 47%, right? Our null is always this status quo, the way things currently are. And our alternative hypothesis will be that it's not equal to 0.47. Remember, you got to look at what it's asking. So it's asking us, let's see. It investigates if the proportion has changed. Doesn't say gone up, doesn't say increased or decreased, just changed. All right, so that should be right. Let's check it. So what conclusions can be made about the proportion of Snapchatters between 18 and 24 years of age? Identify the critical value. So the first thing we need to do is find our critical Z. We always use Z when we're doing proportions. So our critical Z is going to be norm.s.inv of our alpha divided by 2. So that gives us a negative. Remember, when we're two-tailed, it's plus or minus that. But I think the way it wants the answer put in here is as a positive. So in fact, I'm going to do this as an absolute value. Oh man, I typed over everything. .96. Now we can calculate our test statistic. Again, we could look at view an example for the formula on the exam. You will have to not do that. You'll have to have it in your notes. I've got the formula for the test statistic right here. So it's just going to be our P bar, which is our sample proportion, minus our claim proportion over the square root of the claim proportion times 1 minus the claim proportion over N. So this will equal sample minus claim. There's our numerator. And our denominator, the square root. Actually, I'm not sure I needed 2 in front of that, but it's going to be the square root of the claim proportion times 1 minus that claim proportion divided by N. Yeah, I think I had one more parenthesis than I needed, but it shouldn't hurt anything. There's our test statistic, 2.59. Okay, so what's our final conclusion? Well, our test statistic in this case is further away from the mean than the critical score. So it's more extreme than the critical score, which means we're going to reject the null hypothesis because there is evidence that the number of users, let's see, the proportion of users has changed. What's the p-value? So this one's a little tricky because we're going to do norm.s.dist of our z-score and say it's true. That will return to us the probability of this test statistic and everything to the left of it. We need to know everything to the right of it. So I'm going to do 1 minus that. And then I have to remember I have a two-tailed test, so it's going to be 2 times that. So we have 0.009, actually it's 0.10. Uh-oh, maybe I made a mistake. See, there's another one of those where it's a rounding issue. We'll have to check that and make sure people aren't missing that on the exam and give back some points if that was true. All right. So it wanted 0.009, even though we got 0.0096. So keep an eye out on that. Finally, it wants us to interpret that. It's the same thing that we're going to reject the null hypothesis because there is enough evidence to conclude that it's changed. And there we go. That's the end of that one. So we'll double check that too. I'll go back through the exams and make sure nobody missed because of that, but I don't think so because it looked like mostly people didn't even get that far in the problem, but we will double check it and add back points if we can. Anyway, I hope that's helpful to you and good luck on the rest of the review and the exam.